All right, guys, so we are in Unit 3. We're talking about Lesson 5, the global impact of ag and natural resources. So, not just the United States, how the whole globe comes together, and we'll talk about trade, how we get certain things. So, you don't think about it every day, but a lot of money changes hands in the global market to get you what you have today. So, it just kind of talks about think of what you did this morning. Did you have a banana this morning or breakfast, or if you drank coffee? That's not really grown in the United States. So that was imported, which means we bought it and we bought it from another country. They exported it to us. We bought it as an import and we paid a tax on it. And you pay taxes. And that's how we got that food. So that's how we are able to have all the things that we have, even though we're not just based on what we have grown locally. Without this global impact, you would be stuck eating foods that only grow where you are. So luckily in Texas, we grow a lot of things, but you could say goodbye to your coffee, you could say goodbye to chocolate, and some good things like that. So it's important. Global trade's really important. So what does fair trade mean? So it says you've probably seen the fair trade label. It's always on imported goods like coffee and chocolate and really high value ag products. So that's between companies in developed countries and producers in developed countries. Remember, those are those countries that are poorer economically. They're trying to get in the better standing. So that's where fair prices are paid to the producers. While specific standards are in place for fair trade labeling, some small producers also use farmer-friendly and producer-friendly practices in different ways. So that just means that the trading process, it's fair, they're paid a good price for their product. There's no gimmicks, no getting them out of stuff just because they're a developing country. All right, agriculture, it's huge around the world. It's one of the largest industries economically and just itself because everybody's got to eat. Okay, there's a lot of money that changes hands, a lot of things that get traded in agriculture. So it says in most cases, trade flows in a clear direction. Wealthy countries, like the United States is a wealthy country, purchases ag products and natural resources. Say, okay, we buy our avocados from Mexico, or we buy them from El Salvador. Buy our cocoa beans from El Salvador. Okay, there are some exceptions. So some countries that produce a valuable natural resource such as oil may have significant wealth and have far more ability to achieve equitable trade. So we've talked a little bit about fair trade. The existence of fair trade products tells you a little bit about products that aren't fair trade as well. So if fair trade labels are relevant, that means that a lot of goods weren't really produced that way. That means if we had to make fair trade labels apparent, there's something fishy going on. These products may well have been produced under poor working conditions. So international efforts are in place to improve trade relations and make trade interactions better. And there's even the International Food and Ag Trade Policy Council that goes over that. So ag's really impacted by culture. So you should know that culture is the beliefs and customs of a society or people. There's regional cultures, national, different families even have cultures. You probably know this if you go over to stay the night at a friend's house. They don't do everything exactly like you do. Okay, everyone has their own way of doing things, and that's their own culture. So these cultures can affect what we buy and what we eat. So some examples like tamales at Christmas. It's a cultural tradition for people of Mexican heritage. That's why you see tamale sales go up around Christmas time. Pecan pie, that's regional linked. So that's in the South. You're not going to see that. America has regional cultures. You're not going to see that in the North, especially when it comes to food. We're a lot different. Religion is also going to impact it. Different religions eat different things. Those that are in Judaism, Hinduism, and Islam, they have specific dietary laws on ways that they can eat their food, how the animals are handled, and how they're raised. So this affects agriculture. This affects what is grown and what is sold. So all of those things you have to think of are what are going to impact what is grown, what is sold, and what is traded. So that's all kind of interesting when you think of the big picture like that. So that's a really cool picture. That's a vertical panels where they're growing, looks like lettuce and different herbs. This is kind of where the future of agriculture is going, guys. We are running out of land, so we're looking for different ways to grow our crops. Growing vertically is a great way to do it. It says, think a minute and think about how much ag has changed in your grandparents' lifetimes. How do you think ag's going to change in your lifetime? A lot. Think how everything has changed. It says by 2050, ag production has to increase by 70%. That is not far away. It is 2023. Changes to ag are going to be critical to meet the needs of this growing population. So there's a lot of key challenges that are affecting it. Climate change is making the season shorter and less predictable. Water shortages are becoming really common. Many countries, the amount of arable or farmland is limited. There isn't unlimited land. We can't make more land. And we're building on it or getting rid of it. So all things to think about. Scientists, they're working hard to combat these problems. One way that they're doing this is through biotechnology. So you need to know that's a vocab word. So exploitation of biological processes, so bio means life, for industrial or other purposes, especially the genetic manipulation of microorganisms for the production of antibiotics, hormones, and other natural substances. So it's very, very important. This is where we get our medicines from. Antibiotics, hormones, other things like that. So it's controversy, but it is important in terms of food medicine. So, and this is where you're going to hear GMOs, and everyone just says, oh, GMOs are terrible. All a GMO is that somewhere in the genetics of that original seed, it got modified. It got changed. So they took this soybean was more drought resistant. This soybean produced a better bean. I'm going to blend those together. That's a genetically modified organism. Boom. Nothing scary about that. There's nothing scary about GMOs. So it's nothing to be scary about, scared of, but it does have to happen in order for us to feed our growing population. So biotechnology isn't the only type of innovation going on in ag. Many types of technology are also in use. You've probably seen fitness trackers, or maybe you have one. I've got a Fitbit watch right here. Okay, the same kind can be applied for farms to maximize production. Sensing and information technology enables minute adjustments to animal diets, soil chemicals, fertilizer. I've talked before in a lesson. There's about the dairy cattle. So dairy cattle have these collars that they can wear, and it's like a Fitbit tracker. It will tell you everything that animal ate that day, what its weight is, what its temperature is, when it was milked last, all of these things. So we're just constantly getting better in the agriculture world. And then it talks about vertical farming, which is like the picture, where we're growing on the side of buildings because we have to. There's all sorts of things that they're doing. So don't just get totally panicked thinking we're going to starve in 2050. People are at work. They are working on this. They know of this problem. And there are ways that we can combat it. It's just going to take some time, and it's going to take us to do it. There are some knowledge check questions that you need to answer.